Hello, my name is Lauren Frederick. My presentation will focus on the central nervous system, specifically an overview of the major brain regions and their functions. This presentation is informed by the research article, Structure and Function of the Central Nervous System by Del Cerro and colleagues, published in 2023. Throughout the presentation, we'll explore the main structures of the brain, their locations, and how they contribute to critical functions like sensory processing, motor control, and cognition. The central nervous system, or CNS, is a highly complex and essential part of the human body. It consists of two primary structures, the brain and the spinal cord. Together, these components control and coordinate nearly all bodily functions, from basic survival processes to advanced cognitive tasks. The brain acts as a command center, receiving, interpreting, and responding to information from the body. It is responsible for everything we think, feel, and do. Meanwhile, the spinal cord serves as a vital communication highway, transmitting messages between the brain and the rest of the body. Without this intricate system, voluntary movements like walking or riding, and involuntary functions like breathing would not be possible. In addition to managing physical processes, the CNS plays a key role in cognition and emotional regulation. Activities such as reasoning, memory formation, and decision-making all rely on the brain's ability to process and interpret complex information. Furthermore, the CNS helps regulate emotions, ensuring we respond appropriately to different stimuli. Understanding the structure and function of the CNS provides essential insight into how our bodies maintain balance and adapt to the environment. In this image, we can observe the major divisions of the cerebrum into lobes. Each lobe is responsible for key interactions and responses for the entire body. We'll go through each part in detail in the next few slides. To better understand how the central nervous system operates, it's important to explore the major divisions of the brain: the cerebrum, the cerebellum, and the brainstem. Each division has specialized functions, yet they work in concert to manage the body's complex activities. First, the cerebrum is the largest and most advanced part of the brain. That was the colorful image on the previous page. It handles higher-order cognitive functions, including reasoning, decision-making, and sensory perception. The cerebrum is divided into two hemispheres, which control opposite sides of the body. This part of the brain allows us to engage in critical thinking, process sensory input like sight and touch, and perform voluntary movements. Next, the cerebellum. This is what we have an image of here. Here's the cerebellum. It is located beneath the cerebrum at the back of the brain. While it may be smaller in size, it plays a crucial role in motor control. The cerebellum is responsible for maintaining balance, coordinating movement, and ensuring smooth, precise actions. For instance, when you ride a bike or type on a keyboard, your cerebellum is at work, fine-tuning those motor activities. Finally, the brainstem is the most primitive part of the brain and is located at the base where the brain meets the spinal cord. It controls essential life-sustaining functions such as breathing, heart rate, and reflexes. Damage to the brainstem can be life-threatening because it regulates these automatic processes that keep us alive. In this image, we can see what the cerebellum looks like normally, and different regions are colored with different colors that show us how it would look if it was unfolded. We can see where those regions lie. The purple region here is for regulation of muscle tone, coordination, skilled voluntary movement. Blue is for planning and initiation of voluntary activity, storage of procedural memories. Green is maintenance of balance, control, and eye movement. Within the cerebrum lies the cerebral cortex, a thin, wrinkled layer of neural tissue that plays a central role in processing complex information. This structure is divided into 4 distinct lobes, each specializing in specific cognitive and sensory functions. The frontal lobe, here in orange, is located at the front of the brain. It governs higher cognitive processes such as decision-making, problem-solving, and planning. It also manages voluntary motor activity, meaning it controls intentional movements. For example, when you raise your hand, the frontal lobe is responsible for initiating and coordinating that action. It is also the location of Broca's area here, where we form our speech. Next is the parietal lobe. It is situated behind the frontal lobe. So here in this blue and green, It processes sensory information from the body. This includes sensations such as touch, pressure, temperature, and pain. It also helps us understand spatial orientation, enabling us to navigate our environment. Next, we have the temporal lobe. It is found on the sides of the brain near the ears, this lovely pink color here. This region is crucial for processing auditory information, allowing us to hear and interpret sounds. Additionally, the temporal lobe plays a major role in memory formation and language comprehension. Lastly, we have the occipital lobe here in green. It is located at the back of the brain and is dedicated to visual processing. This lobe receives and interprets information from the eyes, enabling us to recognize shapes, colors, and motion. Each lobe is specialized but works together to create a cohesive understanding of our environment. Another spot on our image here is the Wernicke's area, which allows us to understand what people are saying. Next, we have subcortical structures. Below the cerebral cortex are subcortical structures. They are specialized regions that relay information and regulate fundamental biological processes. Three key subcortical structures are the thalamus, hypothalamus, and basal nuclei. The thalamus, here in pink in the middle, acts as a relay station for sensory and motor signals. It receives information from the body, such as visual, auditory, and tactile inputs, and it directs it to the appropriate regions of the cerebral cortex. Without the thalamus, the brain would struggle to process and interpret external stimuli. It is also responsible for crude awareness of sensation and some degree of consciousness. Next, we have the hypothalamus. It is shown in green here. It is a small but essential structure that maintains the body's internal balance, or homeostasis. It regulates vital processes such as hunger, thirst, body temperature, and our circadian rhythms. For example, if you become too warm, the hypothalamus triggers sweating to cool you down. It's an important link between nervous and endocrine systems. It also has extensive involvement with emotion and basic behavioral patterns, as well as our sleep and wake cycle. Here in yellow, we have the basal nuclei. Normally it's on top of the thalamus, but it's moved for the image here. It plays a critical role in controlling voluntary movements and supporting procedural learning like inhibition of muscle tone, coordination of slow, sustained movements, and suppression of useless patterns of movement. These structures are active when you perform repetitive tasks like tying your shoes, helping these activities become automatic over time. Dysfunction in the basal nuclei is linked to movement disorders like Parkinson's disease. To finish off this image, we have the blue area as the cerebral cortex, which we talked about before. Again, it is responsible for sensory perception, voluntary control of movement, language, personality traits, sophisticated mental events such as thinking, memory, decision-making, creativity, and self-consciousness. The pink area down here is the cerebellum, again as we have discussed. Its jobs include maintenance of balance, enhancement of muscle tone and coordination, planning of skilled voluntary muscle activity. The final part that we haven't fully talked about yet is the brainstem, down here in brown. We have three parts of it: the midbrain, pons, and medulla. It is the origin of majority of the peripheral cranial nerves, cardiovascular, respiratory, and digestive control centers, and regulation of muscle reflexes, which are involved with equilibrium and posture. It also plays a role in the sleep-wake cycle, as described by Sherwood, 2013. Brain function relies on the connectivity between different regions. No part of the brain works alone. Cognitive processes such as learning, memory, and problem solving require a dynamic collaboration across multiple brain areas. In this image, we have a somatotopic map of the somatosensory cortex and the primary motor cortex. The top image is a view of the cerebral hemispheres showing somatosensory cortex and the primary motor cortex. The bottom left picture shows the sensory homunculus. This shows the distribution of sensory input to the somatosensory cortex from different parts of the body. On the right, we have the motor homunculus. This image shows the distribution of motor output from the primary motor cortex to different parts of the body. Modern neuroimaging techniques, like the functional MRI, have revolutionized our understanding of brain connectivity. These tools allow scientists to observe how different regions interact while we think, move, or feel. This research reveals that many tasks, such as recognizing a face or recalling a memory, activate widespread neural networks across the brain. Looking ahead, future research will continue to explore how these intricate connections shape behavior and cognition. By mapping brain networks in greater detail, scientists aim to improve treatments for neurological disorders and deepen our understanding of how the brain orchestrates every aspect of human experience. In conclusion, the central nervous system is the foundation of how our bodies and minds function, from controlling basic life processes like breathing and heart rate, to enabling advanced cognitive functions such as memory, reasoning, and emotional regulation. The CNS serves as the body's command center. In this image, we can see different areas of the brain light up on positron emission tomography, such as a person performs different tasks. PET scans detect the magnitude of blood flow in various regions of the brain. Because more blood flows into a particular region of the brain when it is more active, neuroscientists can use PET scans to take pictures of the brain at work on various tasks, as described by Sherwood. Each major brain region, the cerebrum, cerebellum, brainstem, and subcortical structures, plays a specialized role. However, no region works alone. The brain functions as a highly interconnected network where information flows seamlessly between different areas to manage everything we do, both consciously and subconsciously. Advancements in neuroimaging and neuroscience research continue to enhance our understanding of these brain networks. With these technologies, we are not only uncovering how healthy brains operate, but also gaining insights into neurological and psychological conditions. This research is opening new possibilities for diagnosing, treating, and even preventing disorders that affect the CNS. Understanding the structure and function of the brain is more than a scientific pursuit. It allows us to appreciate how intricate and remarkable the human experience truly is. As research continues, we will deepen our understanding of how the brain shapes who we are and how we interact with the world around us. Here is the full list of citations for the sources that inform today's presentation. Thank you for your time.